Hi, I'm Stacey Tirro, author and director of How Do We Feel Right Now, and advisor for Spring Valley High School's Thespian Troupe 721. This production was born out of a tragedy. After the events of May 25th, 2020, serious conversations started happening, particularly on social media. Cries for help rose, and I felt compelled to act. But there was an issue. How do you take action in a pandemic? In early June, I had an important conversation with an acquaintance who needed emotional support. Through that conversation, an important question emerged. Have you ever written your own play? Long story short, my call to action became abundantly clear. I decided to do what I do best, to create art. I took to social media, chose the expressions of friends, alumni, and current students, and assembled them into the piece that you are about to see. Some stories are heartbreaking, some uplifting. Most importantly, they are real. I have never been more proud of any work that I have done with thespians. Our students heard the call, understood the messages that this piece conveys, and poured their hearts into the work. The result is what you are about to see. Please know that this piece is performed out of love and concern for our community and for the lives of Black and brown people around the world. They are part of the all. Change begins with us. Enjoy the show.
On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd, a Black man from Minneapolis, Minnesota, was murdered while being arrested. The arresting officer kneeled on his neck for almost 9 minutes straight. 3 other officers also kneeled on Mr. Floyd's body during the arrest. Protests began nationwide. Then riots began. Local businesses and a police precinct were burned and looted. White supremacist groups took advantage of the situation, inciting more chaos, confusion, and destruction, some posing as Antifa. President Trump called in the National Guard and the Army to dominate the unrest. Social media lit up like a Christmas tree of posts of people sharing their feelings of fear, sadness, distrust, and most often exhaustion. The calls for white people to help and assist by spreading the message about racial injustice started pouring in. It was time for a real allyship to emerge.
What you are about to see are first-hand responses many expressed through social media pages to the ongoing travesties people of color live with every day. Some perspectives reflect difficult and intense feelings. You may agree or disagree with some of the statements, but these are actual honest expressions from real people in the few weeks following the death of Mr. Floyd. The most important takeaway from this piece is that for people who live in skin that is in some shade of brown, the feelings expressed here never go away. They may get quieter, but they're never gone. If you feel like they have gone, or that you just don't see it, that might just be your privilege talking.
We invite you to open up your heart, open up your mind, and hear what people are feeling. Then, consider how you can choose to help.
On Tuesday, October 29th, 2019, former First Lady Michelle Obama spoke at the Obama Foundation Summit in her hometown of Chicago. One quote in particular speaks volumes. "I can't make people not afraid of Black people. I don't know what's going on. I can't explain what's happening in your head. But maybe if I show up as a human, a good human, doing wonderful things, loving my family, loving your kids, taking care of things that I care about, maybe, just maybe that work will pick away at the scabs of your discrimination. Maybe that slowly will unravel it. That's all we have. Because we can't do it for them, they're broken. Their brokenness and how they see us is a reflection of that brokenness. And you can't fix that. All you can do is the work." The work Mrs. Obama is referring to is taking a deep, honest look at how people are feeling and how they are responding. The piece you're about to see is our interpretation of that work.
May 28th, 2020. Checking in on those whose hearts and minds are heavy this morning. You are so not alone. When you feel helpless about George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis, exhale. Remember that you are still alive and can do something. You must find a way to keep moving forward. Yes, we can. To my white friends, don't keep your understanding of injustice to yourself. You must do something with it. Those who have been doing this your entire life, yes, I know you are tired. I am too. Do take care of yourself. We need you. I need you. To my Black friends, I wasn't colorblind. I saw your skin and I saw you. Most of the Black friends I grew up with in Spring Valley, New York were first generation Haitian or Jamaican. Your parents immigrated to the States around the same time as mine. I practiced with you on the ball fields, pushed you on the swings, ran with you on the playground. I sang with you in chorus, played with you in orchestra, and ate with you in the lunchroom. I passed notes to you in class, talked on the phone with you after school, and had sleepovers. Your parents drove us to the movies, helped us with our science projects, and gave us snacks. I met you at your locker, rehearsed with you for the spring musical, and danced with you at prom. I see you still, my friends, and I love you.
June 1st, 2020. What does I am not okay mean? For me, it's as if every pain I have ever felt in my entire life is coming back to haunt me. I am scared and I am sad and I am grieving that we still don't get it. After decades and decades and decades of supposed lessons learned, my heart aches and I am struggling to breathe. But I refuse to give up. Mr. Du Bois, Mr. Douglas, Miss Wells, Dr. King, Miss Lord, Malcolm, Miss Morrison, Miss Hurston, and Mr. Hughes. I have learned too much from you to not and try help communities heal. I refuse to give up, friends. I refuse to give up, Mom. I refuse to give up, Dad. I refuse to give up.
How do I feel right now? I haven't had a decent night of sleep for about a week now. I'm saddened, frustrated, confused, at a loss for words, but yet have so much to say. I am frustrated with the people that think that anti-police brutality is anti-cops. I am annoyed with the people that keep saying all lives matter. Because if all lives matter, then why don't Black lives? I'm tired of explaining to tone-deaf America why I'm afraid for my dad, my brother, cousin, every day when they leave their houses. I'm baffled to see what we have to deal with still to this day. Above all, I am thankful for my non-Black friends and acquaintances for speaking up against such treatment. Thank you for using your voice and platforms to drive out hate, racial profiling, and police brutality. I love you all from the bottom of my heart. I feel the love and support. I'm tearing up as I'm writing this. Love conquers hate. Always.
Growing up, I experienced racism, sexism, and colorism.
I always thought that if a boy can lift 3 chairs, then I can lift 4.
If my light-skinned friend can hang out with a group of other light-skins, then I can too.
If a Caucasian man can get pulled over by the police, show his license and registration, and go home with a warning, then I can too.
I wish I still had this mentality. Knowing that Black men, women, and children are being treated unfairly around America
Makes me feel so powerless. I don't know why people are biased against skin color.
I shouldn't have to wonder
worry about if I'll make it home alive
after going to get a bag of chips from the store.
Growing up, I hated my skin color because at school I would hear people call my other classmates with darker skin complexions burnt and other hurtful names. I felt lesser than the lighter skinned kids. I would chemically burn my hair straight because I hated having 4C coily hair.
I rarely ever saw famous people that looked like me, so I felt ugly back then. However, I have grown to realize that black is beautiful.
There are protests going on about being equal to each other because of how police officers are treating people of color all around the world. All states in America are having protests. A specific protest that sticks out to me is the one in D.C. President Donald Trump hid in a bunker and decided to turn a peaceful protest violent because he wanted to take a picture in front of a church with a Bible. He made police officers shoot rubber bullets, tear gas, and arrest protesters. These people were unarmed and being peaceful, so why did they attack them? I think the government is abusing their power. The right to protest and speak freely is protected under the First Amendment. This quote from Cornell Law School's Legal Information Institute explains this right. The most basic component of freedom of expression is the right to freedom of speech. Freedom of speech may be exercised in a direct or a symbolic way. Freedom of speech is recognized as a human right under Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The right to freedom of speech allows individuals to express themselves without government interference or regulation.
Coronavirus seems to have gotten away from the media because of the protests. The most recent that I've heard was that camps might be able to open this summer. I miss my friends, and I'm tired of being home. Quarantine really has negative effects on people's minds. I've been getting sick because of the lack of sunlight and movement, but my whole body hurts, like I just ran a marathon. I can't wait till this quarantine is lifted. The year 2020 will definitely be in history books because of the events that have occurred. I just hope this madness ends by September because I don't want my senior year to get messed up. All we can do is sit and wait for what will happen next.
If I see one more white person post some meme about Martin Luther King Jr. not rioting, my head may explode. All that peaceful protesting got him assassinated by a white man. The irony and ignorance is astonishing. Also, I'm tired of being shown pictures of white cops being nice to black children, as if that balances things out. We all know that happens. We all cling to the hope that there's more good than bad out there. What we need to see is white cops standing up to other white cops and calling them out for their racism. Show us pictures and videos of that. The good cops need to take a stand against some of their own. Now, or else all that effort they put into making their communities better places would have been wasted. Stop shaming people. Stop looking for ways to keep doing things the way they've always been done. Just stop, please.
I wish white and non-black evangelical Trump supporters and sympathizers could feel for 10 measly seconds the kind of complete, destructive brokenness I felt after he was elected. The instant rage I feel whenever I hear his voice, see his face, read his words. The complete terror and fear that I feel whenever I read and the people in and out of my life support him. Look on the bright side, or be slow to condemn him. To me, he is a racist, and he is incompetent, and it is so upsetting that people choose not to understand, not to believe why I'm so angry, and that they choose to invalidate my experiences and feelings. Instead of listening to the reality of Black Americans' distress, I see people creating their own narratives to rationalize and dismiss that pain. And really, it is so un-Jesus-like. It breaks my spirit. I have felt so incomplete since those election results. Like a complete ghost of myself. I am angry all the damn time. It is my constant condition. And I cannot let it go. I will not let it go until this man starts getting held accountable. I mean, really held accountable for his actions and words.
Some of y'all really cling so hard to controlling so many aspects of other people's lives, things you deem as sinful, that you'll excuse the continuous sins of the President of the United States? Are leaders not being called to a higher standard? Would you make the same excuses for your pastors, your elders? Whatever happened to leaders being held accountable for their actions? It is all such a shame. I am beyond disappointed. Was then, still am now, and sadly will likely continue to be. While we're here, please do understand that the body should be held accountable too. I have had racist things said and done to me within the church. Things that made me feel so isolated, and a part of the reason why I keep to myself in most cases today. And while there are folks who I care about and I know who care about me within the body, it shouldn't take my constant cries for people to understand that I am hurting. My family is hurting. And for me, the silence I felt over the years, from Trayvon Martin to Sandra Bland to Michael Brown, Ferguson, Charlottesville, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, etc., etc. And the silence, not from all, but from so many, feels like a slap in the face. And boy, does that sting. Trayvon Martin, to
Eric Gardner,
to Michael Brown,
black male, maybe 20.
Tamir Rice, who was 12 years old,
to
died.
Sandra Bland, to
Philando Castile,
Ahmaud Arbery,
Breonna Taylor,
George Floyd.
My heart hurts. I am scared. I am afraid to run in my neighborhood. I fear crossing paths with the police. But most of all, I am terrified of having children. Not because of the pains of labor, but because I would have to protect them from a world that sees them as a threat and treats their lives as expendable. Because I would have to give them the talk. Not about the birds and the bees, but about the harsh reality that a world promises liberty and justice for all. There is no liberty and justice for us, because I would hold my breath every time they left the safety of our home. Because just being black puts them at risk. My mind is troubled. I am angry. All lives matter, they say. Not when black people are being exterminated by the people that swore to protect and serve. Violence doesn't solve anything, they say. Well, yeah, tell that to your ancestors. Not all cops are bad cops, they say. Well, in the words of Janetta Sagan, silence in the face of injustice is complicity to the oppressor. So miss me with that crap. My blood boils. When will it end? Will it ever end?
I think it's also worth looking at being anti-system versus anti-person. It doesn't matter if they're good cops. It doesn't matter what you put in anyone's heart. What matters is that the entire system is leading to racist outcomes. The system enables the murder of Black people and protects the perpetrators, and that's what needs to change.
During this time, it was only further proven, solidified, and supported my husband and I's decision not to bring Black children into this world. This world does not deserve a piece of my womb, and it would not be fair to bring a beautiful Black child somewhere that I know is evil. I cannot protect them. I fear becoming a widow at any moment at the hands of police brutality, especially living in a white area, and I prepare myself for that fatal call. But being a single mother that has to bury her child, I don't have the strength for that.
As I try to find the words to express my thoughts and feelings at this difficult time, I am at a loss to find those words that would do justice to convey the ideal message. Mostly, I wish I could hug my dear students, friends, members of the community, and let them know I see you. I hear you. I support you. I am here for you. I love you. My hope is that together we can make the world a better place.
I've dealt with racism all of my life. Racist jokes from someone at my school. Someone calling me in a store. And I'm sure it will never stop. There's not much more that I can say other than stop killing us. Celebrate your Black friends and family today and every day. Donate to Black-owned businesses. Protest peacefully. Cry and scream. I'm here with you and for you.
What if I told you all lives don't matter until Black ones do? Simply put, they are part of the all. Think of it this way. 3 children are swimming. One starts to drown. Everyone's gonna help that child, yes? Does that mean that the other 2 beautiful children don't matter? No. It's just who needs our help, compassion, love, and support. The right thing to do, whether it's your child or not, is to help. Yes? That's why white people are saying Black Lives Matter. Do we have the right color to be in this game? No. But we can speak out, stand in solidarity, never settle for less. Not for us, for them. It's the best way I've thought of to explain. The words can sound one-sided, but in reality, that's not what it means. Love everyone. Take your love, smile, kindness, sprinkle it around like confetti.
Are my brothers okay? Are my parents okay? Are my cousins okay? Are my friends okay? I run through a roll call, a list in my head of my loved ones, and check in. It's something I usually do, but even more so now. I knew I was different growing up. Different than a lot of kids in a lot of ways. Being a first-generation Haitian American, I grew up knowing that I needed to work twice as hard to be successful, and was taught that it was the only way to success. I was also taught the importance of treating everyone with respect, being friendly, and doing your best. When I personally experienced racism for the first time, I was incredibly shaken up. I couldn't identify that what was taking place was racism at first. The older I get, the more and more I understand why my parents didn't allow my brothers and I outside. Growing up, we were inside playing video games, reading, watching TV, and rarely going outside to hang out with friends. My parents were always concerned about our safety and felt safest, felt most secure when we were all under the same roof. I see the same look of relief and smile come over their faces when my adult brothers and I are all at home to visit. I see my brothers as loving, gentle, nerdy, musical geniuses. To the world, they're just black men, a potential threat. Our skin is seen as a threat, and yet we operate in the world with a welcoming smile. We enter spaces where we're more than likely to be the only black person, or one of a few, and have to take the weight of feeling as though we speak for all of them. And we also have to walk the line of fitting in so we don't stand out too much. I understand why my mom can't sleep. I understand why my dad, the gentle giant he is, tells us we need to be cool, breathe, and be nice. The older I get, the more enraged and tired I get.
I'm angry that this is all even happening. Frustrated that we even have to fight for a right to live. Scared because the pessimistic side of me only sees this getting worse. Sad because I know people are dying. But above all, I am simply tired of having to use analogies and metaphors to explain why Black Lives Matter. As if a Black life mattering is some complex theory or formula. I'm tired of watching videos of Black men, Black women, and Black children being murdered by police and white supremacists. I'm tired of people trying to justify the killings and minimizing the importance of human lives. I'm tired of the blatant and deeply rooted racism that this society has made exceptions and excuses for time and time again. I'm tired of crying over another hashtag. I'm tired of being told to go back to Africa if we don't like it here. I'm tired of being silenced, and I refuse to be silent anymore. I'm ready for things to change. I'm ready for Black lives to be valued. I'm ready for people to stop dehumanizing us. I'm ready to be loud and obnoxious if that's what it takes to be heard. I'm ready to destroy the roots of racism and hatred in this country so that when I finally have children, I can be positive that the whole world knows that their lives matter.
This madness needs to stop. I was brought up in a time when most of my friends were African American humans. My best friend was a beautiful, smart African American human. My high school was mostly African American humans. We respected each other. We sang in choir together. We played on the field together. We marched in band together. We studied in class together. We went on field trips together. We graduated together. My dad's best buddy was a kind African American human who came over for barbecues with his whole family.
In Roselle, where I grew up, was a town of diversity. Our police officers were mostly white. Everyone got along and helped each other. Without violence, without tear gas, without guns, without protests. Black lives mattered, but not without our help and respect and compassion. We don't need guns to protect us or protests that turn violent. We need action and conversation, peaceful conversation. The rhetoric is too much and dangerous. Protecting our children, all American humans, is by education. Having those tough conversations with them.
We are Americans, plain and simple. No matter what race, ethnicity, faith, or by the choices that we make, how we live our lives. Justice will be done to those who have killed these American humans. So inhuman. This police brutality needs to be dealt with. I have known so many good and respectful police officers throughout my life. My friend is the best one I know. This racism has been an ongoing pandemic. Have the conversations now. We are all American humans.
Did you see? Did you hear? Did you listen? Why did you sleep so long? Days and decades passed since you first hit that snooze button. Centuries filled with generations that were affected as you dreamed, sound asleep as we screamed, drooling on pillows as blood was spilled.
Did you see me? Did you hear me? Did you listen to me? When the chaos got loud, you drowned out the noise with your pillow. When the flames got bright outside, you pulled your blinds. From the old slaves jumping ship and drowning in their sorrow and anguish, to the new slaves being robbed blind of an opportunity of a fair life. You were asleep.
Did you see me hurting? Did you hear me crying out to you? Did you listen to me crying out? Distractions. A lot of distractions. You were in a room full of distractions. But at the drop of a dime, you can drop all your distractions. You choose to ignore and proceeded on being distracted. Mumbled noise from the outside, but you focused on them distractions. You chose to ignore. You did see me, but you couldn't be bothered. You heard me call your name, but you were preoccupied. You were listening, but tuned me out when I tried to explain what's going on.
Things have changed in light of recent events, and I appreciate everyone who is finally
standing up,
showing up,
speaking up,
reading up,
ballisted up.
I find it messed up
that you're
finally awake now.
Spring Valley Thespians, under the direction of Miss Tirro. Congratulations on your performances this week. Continue to push and model the strong compassion you have for others. Know that your work is highly meaningful and know that you are appreciated. Thank you for all that you do. Again, continue to push.
Having to define privilege and explain the difference between racism and prejudice. Being told I'm overthinking racist incidents or misinterpreting my pain because most folks chose to focus on their discomfort, but not discussing or acknowledging fear, racism, and prejudice. These conversations are usually followed by silence and labeling.
Telling people not to insult people of color by calling them minorities, a term that is defined in the dictionary as less than equal. Introduced to the American vernacular by politicians to lump who they consider less important together under one heading, and subconsciously teaching folks of color to dismiss themselves.
Racist parents teaching their children to fear my brown skin. White women clutching their purses and pocketbooks as black men pass by their shopping carts or enter the elevators they occupy. White people meeting you for the first time and telling you that from our prior phone conversations that you didn't sound black.
Seeing car windows being closed and doors locked as black men walk through parking lots to their car, even holding the hand of their small child, or noticing white folks crossing the street to avoid them out of fear and then crossing back after they pass. Black men overcompensating and going out of their way to be nice to white people because they learn early in life that black men are perceived as intimidating and threatening.
When it has to be explained to white men that even though you look athletic, your lifelong dream is not to fulfill some white coach's fantasy by playing football and basketball in college, but instead enjoying non-stereotypical sports.
When people question black men supporting the police, even when many grow up with police officers in their family, and even when that is the case, they're taught by their parents to fear the police due to the unjust murders by bad cops.
Seeing car windows being closed and doors locked as black men walk through parking lots to their car, even holding the hand of their small child, or noticing white folks crossing the street to avoid them out of fear and then crossing back after they pass. Always being hopeful while praying for a better world for you and your children. And this just scratches the surface.
I have a high school memory of walking from my school to the train station, only to be greeted by a white, tall police officer who would psychologically intimidate my friends of color and I about using our bus passes. He would then tell us on a regular basis he didn't know why they let us insert racial slur, go to school in this white neighborhood. We don't want you here. And one day, I just may throw one of you little racial slurs onto the third rail to watch you fry. I was 14.
My high school guidance counselor tried to convince me not to take honors chemistry and my true love, AP Studio Art, because she felt like I should take a class to teach me how to use a cash register and basic business skills. Great job for minorities. She told me I should consider careers like the sanitation department, because at the time it was paying $22,000 and I was a big, strong black man. Of course, my mother was really upset, but as a single parent, could not take time off of work to go fight the fight. Thank God, I defied her and got accepted into a competitive university at 16. took a coaching certification class in the evening at a local high school. On a break, I went to use the bathroom. A white mother and her daughter approached me in the hallway to tell me that they had spilled something by the door upon entering the building, and it needed to be cleaned up before someone slipped. For that moment, I was the speechless Black custodian. I chose to hold in my disgust and anger because she was with her young child and did not understand her racist ignorance, assuming that I, the Black male, was the custodian. Had I opened my mouth to express my feelings, I may have been labeled as the angry and aggressive big Black man.
I had to convince my child that she earned the right to be in her AP European history class. She had been told by her white classmates that being Black, they questioned her placement in that class. She was the only person of color. Adding insult to injury whenever a question about race or people of color arose, both the teachers and her classmates looked for her input as the authority on Black people in the discussions.
I see people of all races marching to support the justice for these senseless murders and to call out racism. I wonder, will the system hold the murderers and bad cops accountable? Or will they continue to cloud the press with empty promises and distractions until the cases run cold because of the horrific murders of Black men and women? Many of my friends and colleagues are now demonstrating the understanding of the pain of racism, white privilege, and why Black lives have to matter.
Historically, I have noticed that not all Asian, Latino, or Black folks want to align themselves with their history and the existence of racism. Unfortunately, too many of my friends from all races still remain silent and therefore complicit. I celebrate the vocal ones because in their hearts they are choosing to try to understand the pain. We already see the news cycles changing and people on social media are hoping that they no longer have to see Black Lives Matter posts about injustice. The TV news stations have started to reduce reporting on the protests that continue nationally, while police are still arresting and violating individuals' civil rights.
Do not be confused by my fatigue. My ancestors were murdered and enslaved and experienced a Holocaust of over 20 million. So I could have the right to be tired and educated. They have instilled in me the determination to fight, to march, to teach, to challenge, to question, and continue this quest for justice for all in this stolen land.
I was on the phone with a friend yesterday when a notification popped on my screen. It said curfew in New York from 7 p.m. till 6 a.m. I immediately told my friend that he should probably find a way to get back home because I had just found out that the president had instituted curfew. He said to me,
"It's whatever. If there really is a curfew, the worst that could happen is a cop will drive me back home."
I was about to protest in an attempt to convince him to get back home, but it hit me. I realized that he was right, and that a cop driving him back home was probably the worst that could happen because he was a 14-year-old white man. I laughed so hard and started pacing hysterically because I realized that my older cousin, who was supposed to be home hours ago, wasn't, and that no one in the house had heard from him. My father also called. He asked if the curfew was real. He wanted to know so he could figure out a way to get back home unharmed after his shift at the bakery. Later on, around 1 o'clock, my cousin was dropped off in front of the house. He told us that he had to wait for his girlfriend to pick him up at the hospital because she didn't want him taking the risk of getting back home alone.
A young black man in the streets after curfew did not paint the right picture.
My father also made it home safe. I was never as relieved to see both of them as I was yesterday. The past few weeks have been the hardest weeks of my life so far. There has never been a more dangerous time to be a black person in America. I look around and I see riots, protests, and pain everywhere. The irony and the injustice of this situation has me going around in circle asking myself, is this the world that I'm fighting so hard to live in? The people who were supposed to protect us have turned on us. We, the black person of America, have to now watch out for cops, gang members, and racist groups alike. I am disgusted by everything that is going on. The fact that a black person has to protest and break things to be heard in this country is outrageous. I always believed that violence was never the way to get what you want, and I still do. But the fact that the government only started paying attention to the protests when they turned into riots is mind-blowing. I saw a post that said,
they'd rather arrest 100 black men for demanding justice instead of 4 of their own.
And that hit hard. It pains me that we still live in a world where black people are still treated as less than human, and that white privilege is still a thing.
The news that Choice plays Steph and all these other black people, may they rest in peace, reminded me of the movie The Hate U Give. In that movie, a black kid was pulled over and killed by a white cop because he thought that the kid was holding a weapon. Later on in the movie, his friend asked her uncle, who was a cop, if he were in the same circumstances as the cop that had killed her friend, but instead of a black man, he was white. What would he have done? The uncle answered, I would have said, put your hands up. Like the kid in the movie, many other young black men have been killed by white cops because they thought that they had a weapon. Unlike those people, George Floyd was unarmed and pinned to the ground. He died under the knee of a white cop pressed to his throat, saying, I can't breathe.
I pray that one day these unjust acts cease, that I will be able to stop pacing every time one of my relatives is an hour late. I pray that one day I will be able to tell my friends, see you tomorrow, instead of be careful every time I leave their sides. I pray that one day black people won't have to resort to violence to be heard, and that a black man won't need a white person to step in front of him and shield him from potential harm. Despite everything that is happening, I remain proud to be black. I am also proud to see all the solidarity and the support that we get from other people in our fight for justice. The Black Lives Matter movement has never been as popular as it is right now. I just wish that people would remember that yes, Black lives do matter. All the time. Not only when one of us is killed.
Tens of thousands of protesters trying to get their message across. And there are those who continue to focus solely on the rioters and looters. Man, it's almost as if they have absolutely no interest in hearing what the people have to say. Should a white person have to answer for the actions of all white people? If your answer is no, why in the hell should a black person have to answer for the actions of all black people? Everyone just wants to go about their lives in peace and to be treated fairly. Jerks come in every color. Let's start focusing on recognizing everyone's humanity, and we can then move forward from there.
I am trying very hard not to white over black voices. I am trying very hard to use my profile to amplify black voices. If I fail in this, or if I minimize black voices and experiences, let me know. My ego should not ever get in the way of your voice.
I was only a kid when my mother taught me about the civil rights movement. She taught me about Dr. King and Rosa Parks. I didn't understand then, but I could tell she was so passionate and proud. Later on, I studied Dr. King in history books. I was so amazed and proud to be part of such a great culture. I was proud of my brothers and sisters in America for fighting for their rights. Now, 64 years later, we still fight for those rights. I wonder what they would feel if they were still here. There's a line from the movie, The Hate You Give, that says, "It is impossible to be unarmed when our blackness is the weapon they fear." These lines have never rang more true in my mind recently. I've heard of black men getting frisked by white cops for standing in a parking lot. I've heard of a black man getting shot for standing in the corner of a street. I've heard and seen my brother die under the knee of a white cop saying, "I can't breathe."
In what world does using a $20 bill deserve murder as punishment? In what world does one need 3 people kneeling on a man's body to restrain him? Since when do the ones who have pledged to protect and serve us turn on us? I never thought I'd see the day where my blackness would be the reason I end up dead. I never thought that I would fear for my family's life like I do every time they walk out the door. I never thought that I would doubt whether or not calling the cops was the right thing to do if I ever was in danger. I watched a video of a woman on TikTok telling her elderly grandfather that African Americans were still fighting for justice in America. The man cried and responded, "I thought we had time to fix that."
I saw a cop
push a white elderly to the ground while he was in a protest. His skull cracked open and his blood spilled on the ground, but the cop walked past. It was as if none of them saw the poor man bleeding out of his head. I have seen the worst and the best of humanity in the past few days, and I have never shed more tears. I have seen white people fight with us for justice. I have seen a nation march united, standing up and fighting against the oppressor, and I am proud. I'm proud of the people for fighting the good fight. I'm relieved for their support. I pray that this time there will be a lasting change, and that 64 years from now, my descendants will not be shedding the same tears as I am. That they will not be fighting the same fight that we have been fighting for years.
As I am trying to find the right words for what is going on in our country, I am horrified, sad, discouraged, frustrated, enraged, disappointed, and flummoxed. My heart hurts. Judging someone by the color of their skin is wrong. There isn't any situation where it's appropriate. We as a country must find a way to eradicate racism. And that starts with each of us. I will combat those that disagree with this. I will teach my future children how to accept everyone. Change begins with you.
Facebook asks, what's on my mind? Today, here's what's on my mind. I woke up Thursday morning knowing I wasn't okay. This is what I felt. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to need people and to share my heart with them. There's a lot going on in this world and in my world. I've met all that with more anxiety than I know how to deal with. So it's wreaking havoc on my mind. My silence is simply me trying to process what is happening, or it's just me being tired. It's okay to lean on God fully through this. It doesn't make a bit of sense to me, but this is bigger than me. I couldn't sleep last night. Saying the wrong thing is a core fear. And not all people are kind. The way some folks react and attack others for saying the wrong thing or the right thing the wrong way scares me. So I listened. I watched and honestly was filled with so much encouragement of how many people have shown up and how they've shown up. I appreciate the vulnerability and honesty shared by so many. Also, I've just been confused. Y'all, nothing has changed. We have been living with systemic oppression since before I was born. I've been trying to figure out what is so different now. Why are people finally now showing up? I think part of it is social media. Maybe the other part is we're tired. I know I'm tired. But clearly, something is different. Pandemic?
When this whole quarantine started and schools closed, all I could think about was the education gap, the achievement gap. All I could think about were the kids. Do y'all realize how much wider the achievement gap has gotten? Do y'all recognize the disparity happening for our children of color across America in this very moment? Do y'all understand how many more of our students are now even more at risk of being a statistic in our school to prison pipeline? I'm sure you do. These are rhetorical questions I literally just cannot fathom. In my little corner of the world, I take a stand for our children to equip them to be successful in whatever path they choose, teaching them the realities of the world we live in and maintaining a high level of culturally relevant pedagogy so that just maybe they can have a chance. Personally, I am a Haitian American woman. In America, I'm perceived as a Black female. I am blessed to have a diverse community with deep relationships across cultural lines. But I'm a Black female. Point blank, period. That identity places me smack dab in the middle of so many systems of oppressions. Being Black elicits one form of oppression. Being female brings another. In that space of intersectionality, there are natural limitations, disadvantages, and or disapprovals. And that junk is hard. Then there are my siblings. Specifically, I have 2 Black brothers. When you look at my older brother, some folks are automatically threatened by his stature. But gosh, that dude is a teddy bear, and his smile lights up your world for days. Legit the best smile ever. Then there's my other brother. He has the most tender heart with his nerdy techie self. He's legit a lifesaver in so many ways. Neither are a threat in the slightest. They love you in the purest way they know how. So I'm tired.
Tired of watching so many Black Americans work twice as hard for half as much.
Tired of the conversations parents have to have with their Black children, especially their Black sons.
Tired that my fellow mamas who have Black sons choose to cut their sons' precious locks because they hit an age where it's no longer cute and is perceived as a threat.
Tired that we have to question our every move to ensure we're not putting ourselves in danger.
Tired of the pressure to act a certain way.
Tired that we have to fight this hard.
Tired that my babies have to fight even harder.
Tired that at the end of the day, all these systems of oppressions is making it even harder for my babies to have a quality education, and that the institutions and organizations that have set out to impact change for these communities are the very ones struggling during this pandemic.
So I pray hard for my family, my babies, the achievement gap, the systems of oppression. I pray and I focus my fight against injustice on influencing and impacting students because they are our future.
What is your part in the fight against injustice? You don't have to have the answers. You don't even have to fully understand the problem. You just need to be willing to show up, engage in conversation, be willing to grow, and impact others to do the same.
I've been so hesitant to post anything. I wanted to, but haven't. Here's what's gone through my mind. Right, wrong, or indifferent. What am I going to say that doesn't sound cliche? that I went to a high school with 50% people of color when I was there, and all most of us cared about was what kind of classmate, teammate, or coworker someone was, regardless of what they looked like? I do, but that isn't going to make things better. That I have black friends? I do, but that isn't going to make things better. That I feel for the pain of those who I know didn't grow up with the opportunities that I had? I do. But that isn't going to make things better. That all cops aren't bad, but the ones who killed George Floyd deserve to rot in hell? Yeah, I do. But that isn't going to make things better. That while I don't agree with looting or violence, I know MLK, Tommy Smith, John Carlos, Colin Kaepernick, and many others who've tried different ways to get people's attention, and yet nothing has changed. I do. But that isn't going to make things better. That I couldn't give two hoots if you are black, brown, purple, gay, straight, trans, or from Mars. As long as you are a good person and treat my kids the same, I do. But that isn't going to make things better. The best thing I could do was continue living the way I do, which means treating others with the dignity and respect they deserve. I didn't want to artificially call attention to it by being the white guy from the suburbs trying to seem woke to something I could never understand without experiencing it myself, but I know I never will. Maybe this is the wrong approach, but that's why I've chosen to be silent. Well, with this reply, perhaps I no longer am.
I want to give a shout out to two white firemen who stood up for me and this other black young lady. In a nutshell, an older gentleman purposely cut me in line, and even after both us women kindly told him that there was a line, he looked at the both of us and rudely dismissed us. One of the firemen repeated it, and this time more firmly for the rude white man to get the point. He grudgingly moved. This is what happens when white privileged people hold other white privileged people who are clearly racist accountable. My white friends, do not be a bystander, but stand up for the black community. The fireman even waited for the man to leave, grabbed my food for me, and waited for me to get in my car. It's getting messier in our world today. Yes, we need to pray, but actions speak louder than words. Let's continue to do what is right and be there for one another.
Hashtag call it like it is. Hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Hashtag we are stronger together.
Hashtag totally could have been worse.
We've all heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. My dissertation affirmed that to have our social, emotional, spiritual, and physical needs met, we need to belong to a community that acts as a web of support. In my work at Inspire to Change, we say that there is no healthy collective transformative change without supporting individual and collective well-being. And I learned through my work with the Well-Being Project that well-being requires that people be able to rest and disconnect. Rest and disconnection are more likely to happen if people feel held by a community, and if they feel like the work will continue in their absence. It's a shift away from the hero or savior models and the feeling that I can't stop because this all rests on my shoulders, to I can rest because I have people I trust who will keep fighting the good fight in my absence. So what is a sufficient community? How big is a web of support? What do people actually do to hold each other? I'm going to make our web of support visible by listing things people have done to hold us. In my community, people have
given us money so we could evacuate our home with the kids for the 4 most dangerous nights,
sent us grocery money and dropped off our meals,
taken our son on socially distanced playdates,
watched our neighborhood throughout the night as protectors and peacekeepers,
checked in to say, how you doing? What do you need?
checked in to say, I'm reading what you're writing, I see you, I hear you, and I appreciate you.
created art in our community,
helped us get our story beyond Minneapolis,
protest when we couldn't,
offered to run errands for us and our neighbors,
helped with neighborhood cleanup,
shared resources with me and shared resources I posted with others,
place our son's social and emotional needs before academic performances,
filmed live footage unfiltered by mainstream media so we could see what is happening while staying and protecting our home,
helped synthesize the news while it was happening,
offered to keep watch with us at night,
and offered us a place to stay,
kept work going at Inspired to Change when we couldn't concentrate,
sent random messages of love,
sent art,
I am Black. I am my ancestors' dreams. I am educated. I am an educator. I am an officer's daughter, worth mentioning for context. I am a proud product of the East Ramapo Central School District. I am fortunate to have grown up in a community with such diversity. It gave me depth. I am not afraid to challenge or lead. I am, and will continue to be, a trailblazer, a champion for children. So, yesterday, I protested for the first time with friends I've had since elementary school, because it's bigger than all of us. The movement feels different this time around, similar to when Emmett Till's mom left his casket open for the world to see what racism did to her son. I am so proud to take part in a historic moment as such. We're at a turning point. I've always felt obligated to use my voice to empower our future, plant seeds of hope, acceptance, and humanity. Together we stand. Divided, we fall. I am being the change I wish to see in the world. What side of history will you be on? To all my friends from Spring Valley, New York, 10977. What I've learned is that growing up in Spring Valley gave me the life experience I need to become an informed and active citizen. I applaud everyone for their efforts this week to read up on race, racism, anti-racism, etc. Books are wonderful and have a way of helping us connect the dots better. However, there is no book, documentary, or talk series that can match, articulate, and fully explain the precious life lessons learned from our childhood. I know you know what I'm talking about. I challenge you to think about when you first became aware that there was this thing called race. What did you learn, and how did you learn it? I challenge you not to just think about it or remember. I want you to reflect. There are no wrong answers here, just your own personal reflection. We learned powerful lessons growing up in Spring Valley. My theory is that we experience racism, yes, but we also experience anti-racism, and at an early age. We weren't even aware of it. That's part of the magic of it. We do not need to read a book to learn how to be an anti-racist. We have this powerful thing called life experience. Trust in and take action from this place of understanding, and you will create change. I promise.
Did you see? Did you hear? Did you listen? Why did you seem so long? Days and decades passed, centuries of generations affected as we dreamt sound asleep, as we screamed. Tears on our pillows as blood was spilled. Did you see me? Did you hear me? Did you listen to me? Now, when the chaos got loud, you drowned out the noise with your pillow. When the flames come right outside, you know. Big rock, blind up opportunity of a better life. Did you see me, heard me? Did you hear me calling out to you? Did you listen to me calling out, crying out, cry out? Destruction. You're in a room full, you can drop them, but choose to keep them. Noise from the outside. Focus, distraction. Noise from the outside. You choose to ignore. You saw me, heard me, tuned me out. Things have changed in the light of today. And I appreciate everyone who are finally standing up, showing up, speaking up, reading up, but listen up. I find it messed up that you're finally